America, the land of the free, and the home of the obscenely expensive prescription drugs. We've all seen the headlines, gasped at the price tags, and maybe even skipped a refill or two ourselves because of the ever-increasing cost of staying alive. But how did we get here? How did life-saving medications become luxury goods available only to those with the deepest pockets or the best insurance plans? Buckle up, folks, because we're about to dive deep into the world of Big Pharma and uncover the secret playbook they've been using to keep drug prices sky high. First stop on our tour of Big Pharma's House of Horrors is the lobbying labyrinth. Picture this, a shadowy maze of backroom deals, campaign contributions, and revolving doors between Big Pharma and the very government agencies tasked with regulating them. It's enough to make your head spin, and that's precisely the point. Big Pharma spends billions each year lobbying politicians and influencing legislation to protect their bottom line. They wine and dine lawmakers, shower them with campaign cash, and even write the legislation themselves, ensuring that any attempts to rein in drug prices are met with fierce resistance. It's a classic tale of money talks, and in this case, it's shouting from the rooftops. Big Pharma's grip on Washington is so tight that even the most well-intentioned attempts at reform often wither and die before they see the light of day. Next up, let's talk about market exclusivity. Big Pharma's favorite way to squeeze every last penny out of their products. It's a simple concept, really. By obtaining patents and other forms of intellectual property protection, pharmaceutical companies can prevent generic competition for years, sometimes even decades, allowing them to charge whatever they want for their drugs. Now, I'm all for rewarding innovation. Developing new drugs is expensive and time-consuming, and companies deserve to recoup their investments. But the current system goes far beyond that. Big Pharma has become adept at gaming the system, extending their monopolies through dubious means and delaying the entry of more affordable generics. The result? Americans pay more for prescription drugs than any other country in the world, often for medications that have been on the market for years and are available elsewhere for a fraction of the cost. Section 4. Negotiating for our lives. Why Big Pharma fears a fair fight. One of the most contentious issues in the drug pricing debate is the government's ability to negotiate drug prices directly with pharmaceutical companies. It seems like a no-brainer, right? After all, the government is the largest purchaser of prescription drugs in the country. Surely they should have some bargaining power. Well, Big Pharma doesn't see it that way. They argue that government negotiation would stifle innovation, reduce investment in research and development, and ultimately harm patients by limiting access to new medications. But let's be real, folks. Big Pharma's opposition to negotiation has nothing to do with innovation and everything to do with protecting their profits. They've grown accustomed to setting their own prices, and they'll fight tooth and nail to maintain that power. Section 5. Profits over pills. The misplaced priorities of Big Pharma. Now, you might be thinking, surely, all those profits are going back into research and development, right? Big Pharma wouldn't prioritize their bottom line over the health and well-being of patients, would they? Well, prepare to have your faith in humanity shaken, because the answer is a resounding yes. Instead of pouring their profits back into developing new cures and treatments, Big Pharma is busy enriching their executives, buying back their own stock, and engaging in aggressive marketing campaigns to convince doctors and patients alike that they need their latest and greatest and most expensive drugs. It's a classic case of misplaced priorities, and it's costing patients dearly. Section 6. The R&D smokescreen, unveiling the true cost of innovation. Let's talk about research and development, shall we? Big Pharma loves to trot out the R&D card whenever anyone dares to question their exorbitant prices. They claim that developing new drugs is incredibly expensive and that high prices are necessary to incentivize innovation. But here's the thing. Taxpayers are already footing a significant portion of the bill for drug development through government-funded research at universities and the National Institutes of Health. And yet, Big Pharma reaps the rewards, patenting the fruits of publicly funded research and then turning around and charging Americans through the nose for access to these life-saving therapies. It's a rigged system, folks, and it's time to call Big Pharma's bluff on their R&D smokescreen. Section 7. The human cost of greed when patients can't afford their prescriptions. The consequences of Big Pharma's greed are far-reaching and devastating. Millions of Americans are forced to make impossible choices every day between paying for their medications and putting food on the table, keeping a roof over their heads, or even receiving essential medical care. We're talking about people being forced to ration their medications, skip doses, or forgo treatment altogether because they simply can't afford it. We're talking about people dying because they couldn't access the medications they needed to live. Gap 3S. Section 8. The hidden costs of research and development. While Big Pharma often justifies high drug prices by citing the enormous costs of research and development, the reality is far more complex. Many of these costs are heavily subsidized by taxpayers through government grants and public funding. Additionally, pharmaceutical companies spend more on marketing and advertising than on actual research. This means that the prices we pay for medications are not solely for innovation, but also for aggressive marketing campaigns and shareholder profits. It's a system that prioritizes profit over patients, leaving many to question, where is the real investment in our health? Gap 3S, Section 9. The role of lobbying in drug pricing. It's no secret that the pharmaceutical industry wields significant influence over legislation. Through extensive lobbying efforts, Big Pharma secures favorable laws and regulations that maintain high drug prices. These companies spend millions of dollars each year to ensure that policies protect their profits rather than prioritizing public health. This manipulation of the system leads to a cycle where the needs of patients are overshadowed by corporate interests. As a result, affordable medication remains a distant dream for many, while pharmaceutical giants continue to thrive. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for advocating for change and ensuring that our healthcare system prioritizes people over profits. The influence of US drug prices extends far beyond American borders. When pharmaceutical companies set high prices in the United States, it often sets a precedent for the rest of the world. Many countries look to the US as a benchmark, leading to elevated drug costs globally. This ripple effect means that patients in developing nations already facing economic challenges struggle even more to access essential medications. The global disparity in drug pricing exacerbates health inequalities, leaving millions without the treatments they need. It's a stark reminder that the fight for fair drug pricing is a global issue, one that requires international cooperation and solidarity. Only by addressing this on a worldwide scale can we hope to make life-saving medications accessible to all. As the global outcry against exorbitant drug prices grows louder, the world stands at a crossroads. Governments, patient advocacy groups, and international organizations are increasingly pushing for comprehensive reforms. These changes aim to balance the scales, ensuring that life-saving medications are accessible and affordable for all. But what do these reforms look like? They include measures such as price caps, increased transparency in pricing, and the promotion of generic alternatives. Some countries are even considering adopting models where drug prices are negotiated based on their actual value to patients rather than market monopolies. Yet, the path to reform is fraught with challenges. Pharmaceutical companies wield significant power and influence, often lobbying aggressively to maintain the status quo. They argue that high prices are necessary to fuel innovation, but this claim is increasingly scrutinized. The future of drug pricing reforms hinges on the collective will of nations and their citizens. It's a battle that requires persistent advocacy, robust policymaking, and international cooperation. Only by standing together can we hope to dismantle the barriers that keep essential medications out of reach for so many. The stakes are high, but the potential rewards are greater. A world where everyone, regardless of their economic status, has access to the medicines they need to live healthier, longer lives. As we delve into the future of drug pricing reforms, it's crucial to remember the real people behind the statistics. These are the stories of patients who have faced insurmountable costs for their life-saving medications. Stock footage of an elderly woman counting coins at a pharmacy counter. Narrator: I meet Clara, a retired schoolteacher who has to choose between buying her diabetes medication or paying her rent. Stock footage of a young father holding a prescription bottle looking worried. Narrator: this is David, a single father who skips doses of his heart medication so he can afford his daughter's school supplies. Stock footage of a mother comforting her sick child. Narrator: and this is Maria, whose child suffers from a rare disease. The cost of treatment has plunged her family into debt. Stock footage of a group of people holding signs at a protest. Narrator: these stories are not isolated incidents, they are the human cost of a broken system. Stock footage of people from various walks of life, looking hopeful. Narrator: but there is hope. With persistent advocacy and robust reforms, we can change the narrative. We can ensure that no one has to choose between their health and their livelihood. Text on screen: together we can make affordable healthcare a reality for all. Narrator will join us in this fight for a fairer, more compassionate world. Stock footage fades to